Hi everyone, welcome back into the classroom. Today we're going to paint the American Goldfinch. I promised that on the, I promised it on the end of the last one, the cardinal. We do the Goldfinch. Another bright, this time bright yellow bird, this one right here. So I showed you this photo. I thought, well, I'd just go ahead and paint this one. I did a quick sketch of it, and it's really kind of funny because I was looking at it and I'd say, okay, where am I going to put my oval? And I went, well, you know what? Really down his center line here is just almost like a heart. So I kind of drew a heart and then widened it out, but then put another slightly oval here and then, just kind of sketched him there. Made his tail just a bit longer. Now, the other thing I did was I didn't like his wing coming all the way back up over here and losing some of that. So, and he's really wide down in here, and so I narrowed him down just a little bit. I might narrow him down a little bit more, and I moved his wing overlapping this one a little bit. So I kind of turned his body slightly this way, and so we need to drop the point of his shoulder down just a bit when we're turning there. We'll get into that, show that a little bit more. My classic palette that I have out here, same one that I use for all the birds out here, is my Hansa yellow, dark light yellow, yellow oxide. Those will be important ones today, and along with these here too, the naphtha red, light burnt sienna, pine green, phthalo blue, my cools, the red violet and quinacridone violet, and the white. And I have a little bit of extender out here and a cap that I'll use as well. Oh, one thing before we get started here, I put up two little paintings that I have done in other classes. Now, if you go over to Jansen Art Online, that's our online classroom where we have a lot of classes, a lot of different things. Down at the so when you log on, down at the very corner, on the left side is the menu. Go down to the end of available classes, you'll see what's called the Creative Corner. Now, in the Creative Corner, what it is individual paintings like this. You just take that class, and I think this is a great horned owl, and I paint him in just about a little less than 3 hours, maybe 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. He is a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, I've had a lot of students paint him with so many different ways, different backgrounds, different looks. Just a wonderful class. So, I had a person ask me, do you paint birds of prey? I paint birds of prey all the time. Eagles and different types of hawks, and of course the owls and stuff. This is a Swainson's hawk I did for Creative Corner. I've done a lot of hawks, a lot of different kinds of hawks, from the red tails to the sharp-shined hawk to those. The Swainson's hawk's a hawk we have out here. Cooper's hawk, another one. And this is just a quick little class that's fun. It's over in the Creative Corner. So if you ever want to have something that, you want to just paint something, those are individual. We created that for like what we call our Saturday or weekend painting. It's something that you have a few hours, you want to paint something. There's a class that's over there for that. Okay, so I do all kinds of birds of prey and all kinds of eagles, and you'll see the eagles there. You'll see some other ones there. Okay, some of them are I put into other classes too, wildlife classes and stuff. So anyway, all right. So I have this here on a board. Now this is a hardboard. This is a tempered hardboard. This is a darker hardboard that I have here. It's 11 inches and it's 18. I had an 18-inch by 11-inch board, and I thought, well, I'll just put him on there. And if I determine it's too long at the end, I'll just cut off some of it. But I think I might leave him here on the longer one and do a trailing off bit. What kind of flowers are going to put with him? I'm thinking some smaller. He has these white bands and stuff in here, so I'm thinking maybe some smaller white flowers, yellow centers. Yeller, did I say yellow? Yellow, not yeller, but yellow centers in there, and I think it just might be a lot of fun. Okay, so about your contrast and stuff. So we look at this photo. This is a nice photo. It was a free photo I got off of Google, but it has this yellow green, and you see he just doesn't pop off of that. So he has. Here, when you're going to put that on there, it is a good color theory. If you change that, and sometimes, guys, before you go put it on your board or something, you can always just do a quick check. Let's take just a bit of a violet, maybe a little more on the red violet and stuff. But you can, take you're lighten it up. So I'll take a little quinacridone, tiny touch of blue, some white, and check that color right up against what it would be here and see if you can pop that yellow off a little bit more, and you can see, you'll see the yellow quite a bit more off of that. So it's a good color for them. The board that I based here was just a light gray. I made it from basically a black and a white and a little bit of yellow, or you can use, like what I did here, was pine green, a little bit of red violet, and a little bit of Hansa yellow and white. Made a nice light value there. It's up about an 8 or so. And I want to keep this color here a little bit light, but I'm going to get some variation today. I thought, well, you know, I'm going to get some nice variations to my colors here today. So, you know, it's a nice day. It's a beautiful, hot, boy, have you, you know, here in the States, I know many of you are from all around the world watching our channel and stuff here. But here in the States, and through the heartland and down through the South and all the way to the East Coast, our house out in Pennsylvania, my wife has been complaining on Skype with me. She is just like, it is so hot here. And yeah, it's almost 100 degrees out here again, but the sun is just so intense and the air is so dry outside. So I'm just going to model this up. I'm going to put a little extender in this and just kind of go around. Matter of fact, let's just not even avoid the bird, just kind of go into the bird a little bit. You can always take a damp, like I showed you before, you can always take a damp rag and pull it back and pull your painting off of that. But I do like to kind of streak up. I love, you know, the impressionist, just like you saw in the, you know, the Birds of Prey. I love those backgrounds, the impressionistic backgrounds. I just think they're just wonderful. Now, so that's got a lot of nice color in there. Let's take a bit of green, and you know, I'm going to lean a little bit more burnt sienna, I think, today. See, it's a nice warm. I'm just going to put some of this around here and add some other ghost elements there. And yeah, we some of you on the last video commented quite a bit about the ghost flowers. Thank you. Yeah, love those ghost flowers. Yeah. So I'll push this around a bit. And so my 3/4 inch brush, I just like to add the movement here with that. And you can always take like your paper towel and soften it out like this and push it into that wet color. And I don't blend it. This is what I call blur. I blur the edges of it, you know, push it around and blur it like this. So you still get a bit of the color note there, but you don't get a lot of contrast from edges and stuff. So I like to blur it like that, blur the colors together. And I'm going to put that aside. Now, I was thinking about this. Okay, we're going to have a bright Hansa yellow here. As a matter of fact, sometimes if you're just putting out colors and check them, and you know you're going to paint this on the bird, let's just put in a little yellow there for a second. And so that yellow, it would be nice here, but I was thinking, why don't we pull one of the contrast rules from color theory and pull out and push a yellow or something right down through here, just the unexpected here, and push just a bit of that back through into the painting as well. So now the yellow tracks. We can make the yellow with a little bit of violet right back up here. So we get some of that yellow into the background and sets the bird, but it is the yellow oxide, not going to be our Hansa. And hopefully that'll work. Okay, now I'm going to give him something to sit on right away. In the photo, the branch goes this way through him, across like that, a nice big one here. But I'm going to do some smaller flowers, and I'm going to move his feet over probably just a bit. So I'm going to want to come down with some lines of movement coming down here. So I'll push that one in, and we'll drop in a bit, maybe just some. I like, you know, I talk to you guys about different artists that affected me as I'm studying and stuff, and of course I've always mentioned Kushwa and Pettit. I like Eugene Pettit, and stuff, and I like those little marks and stuff that those impressionists, do in the painting. It just, it adds a busyness to it, but our bird is going to be so much contrast to him that he's going to be able to afford some busyness, really, into our background, all right. This is my little 4. One of my favorite birding brushes is the 4 here. And let's go for an undertone. So you have a couple ways that you can do it. You can paint your bird here. I'm just going to wipe that down just a bit. One of them is you can start like we did with the naphtha red light, because he is a light yellow, and you can paint that out. The other thing is that you can start with a Premier Coup and go with some undertones and stuff first. And I'm going to do that because why would I do that? Is because he's going to be a lot of yellow. And one yellow that I have that is a magical yellow is yellow oxide, because then it's an oxide pigment. It is very, very opaque. So it'll allow me to soften my undertones really easy. And so I'm going to start out with like a burnt sienna undertone, maybe a bit of green. Sometimes I'll slide it over with a little violet or a little bit of that blue, so you can see you get some different undertones here. And I'm going to be looking through the bird, and you'll see some warm notes. And back here, you see, if you look kind of real close back here, that warm note that's right there goes almost a little dirty violet. It's almost like this color that's right here. I'm going to get a little photo here on the side. So it's very close to that particular color that's there. Of course, a little lighter and mottled, so if we lighten it up and model it, we'll get that color note right there. You'll see that area of the bird right there. This is, seeing color like this is so very important, to you as an artist. Seeing color like this is really important. And it's something that I have, I have practiced and tried for years and years and years and years. There's all kinds of different techniques you use that, but I cannot stress enough for everyone to study color theory, because that allows you to identify the color. You'll see the color family it belongs into, what hue it belongs into, its value, its intensity, its tone, its temperature, and you'll be able to better and quickly to make that color. And it takes practice, but color theory is essential to being able to really emulate, and successfully paint and capture the images that we want to do. So, and you'll see those subtle changes. You'll see those subtle changes between the warmth right here and that tone. See the difference? There's a little more sienna, warmer sienna in that one than that one. And those subtle changes really, really make it as an artist. I'm going to put a little bit of that as an undertone here. This is my tone. I have a little violet, a little blue, and my sienna right back here as a nice little undertone. I'll put a mark or two right up underneath there. And let's warm it up. I'm going to put a bit of burnt sienna in this. Let's warm up that tone and push a bit around right up in there. There's going to be some of this into his beak here. And let's try to stay in his beak, Dave. That would be good for today. And so we'll push some there at the bottom, a little bit at the top. He's got a little more violet in the beak up at the top up there. Matter of fact, I can just hint that color. And that's one thing that I look for these things because I studied color theory for so many years. Well, for 35 years, I've been studying and teaching theory, color theory. And that's what gives so much light. So you see there's a little bit of a warmer note and then slightly more violet note there. When you look at that right on his beak, see the warmer note that's right there and then slightly more violet up there at the top. That's what you look for. And I can see those now. I can clearly see those now. I look for those color note changes. Let's take a little bit of that violet, a little bit of that warmth, tap that right in up there. Let's put a mark or two, put a little more extender in here. It's a hot, hot day here. And I turned off the air conditioner so we didn't have any noise in the room. And so the paints are going to dry pretty quickly here. So I'm going to take some of that sienna and push that down right down there. This is what I like to do when I have a little extender on it, to shear it off, get some of those other colors, you know, going through there. He'll have that band again. I put it there just a second ago. Let's use a slightly different color under mark tone there. Let's grab a bit of our light violet right into that, and we'll touch a bit down on this side. A bit more violet into that here. And see, that's what I like, is I'll lose that edge over there. So you can see here in your bird, you see your cooler tone, your warmer tone. And what artists do, what we do, is we take what we see in nature and we enhance it. We enhance it and bring it out a little bit more visual. And of course, you know, different artists, that's part of your technique, is how much do you bring out and enhance. Now I'm just going to take a bit of that warmer tone and the cooler tone, kind of model them together here, and just run some of that right up into and around his, real close to his eye and the eye ring. I'm leaving a little space for the eye ring there. As a matter of fact, we could probably come in just a little bit closer here. If I just shove this down this way a little bit without making too much of a mess. They just love it when I move the cameras around after everything's all centered up for lights and shines and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. Let's drop some of the dark in, and we want to vary that dark. We have blue and burnt sienna, which makes a real nice dark, especially for him, because it's got that burnt sienna tone in there. Let's drop a little bit of that back in here. Now, the reason why you would do the dark pretty quickly here like this is that it's going to make whatever we do with the lights appear lighter. Now, model in some of that burnt sienna, so this color changes. You don't want it to, it's all going to be dark. It's all going to read dark, but see, this reads warmer than that, and I want that. You see, when you look at that up there on his head, you'll see, if you look out to the side there, you'll see a little warmer, and that's a little cooler right there. And so we'll add that, just that bit of warmth. Yeah, just that bit of warmth right in there. You know, I used to always think, you know, I just come close and stuff like that, but you know, no one's really going to be able to tell. Oh yeah, collectors can tell. That's what they spend their money on and look for and stuff. They can tell. I'm going to use the corner of the brush here. Well, let's, you know, I do like to take just a touch of that burnt sienna. Even if I don't see it in the bird's eye, I like it because it adds a bit of warmth. Then I'll take some of that dark. And I'm using just the corner of my my flat here, just tapping that in, so it's not super precise. And I used to always do precise bird eyes and stuff, and then they, you know, they don't have as much character in life as if I just fudge them around a little bit with the brush. Okay, back to that. Now you can also change that black, but I want it really sienna. I mean, it's really burnt sienna here first. Let's go right up here. This mantle feathers come down. His first coverts are going to come right in here. Matter of fact, we can, since white is so opaque in the heritage line, we can just kind of bring this all down. But I want to change. You see, when you look, it's kind of hard, but you can kind of see a warmer area to a cooler area. I want some warmer tones in there, dark, warmer tones. And we'll get down here to his primaries. We'll get a little bit of dark here. So we'll put the white bands on a little bit later. Right now I'm just going to model the tones into this main part of his wing here, so that you'll model through warm and dark. It'll all be dark, but warm and cool of the more blacker tones. And so we can always make it more black. Yeah, see, in doing that, I got a little glare now right there. You can see how thick the paint is there, though. Let's cool that down just a bit more blue. Sometimes I like a bit of green, and if I'm going over the other side, maybe a touch of the naphtha red light, which grays that as well. And let's put some of that in there on that side, and right down this edge here. There we go. right up in here. That's right about, and I'll just streak a bit of that color through there on that wing as well. So I like these warms and cools, and it's kind of hard to see, but I like to get that warm and cool there. Let's take a bit of those. So I have it warmer and grayer, cooler. Let's take a bit of those. And I kind of wiped out his tail here, so I'll have to re-sketch it a bit. Drop that down. And it's going to come down and long loop in. It's like a little finch. There we go. Yeah, the American Goldfinch, I do a lot of the lesser Goldfinch, and some of you that want to paint like the females and stuff, I think I have a couple of females up on the channel of the lesser Goldfinch. I really like the lesser Goldfinch, the female. I've painted her several times. Now I'm going to go let's go a little cooler, darker violet here. Let's take a bit of that darker blue violet, and let's just add a stroke or two in through here, just to see. So you're going to get a lot of color tones in there, see? And you're going to have this real dark little violet. I want maybe just a quick little note of it up there. Okay, just put the color up there. A bit of it marking through here, coming down this way on this side. So his feather movement would be this way on this side. And we can blur that edge there too. You know how I like to do that. Okay, so blur that edge. But those color notes are really important. Okay, I'm going to let that dry up a minute so we can work on it. Let's go back to our sienna. Let's take a bit of our violet over here, lighten it up just a touch, and you'll see almost that kind of violet-y color right up underneath here, lighting up our burnt sienna and our yellow right here. That's on the bottom of his tail, or base of his tail. It's actually called the tail covert area, so we'll push a bit of that in there. Let this blur out though, I think. We'll just put some in there for movement. Maybe a touch of that up here. I do like to move color in them. You know, just a bit of that here and there. So now you set up a nice underpainting, undertone for him. There's a few more areas here. One of the undertones that I use on the finches is a green. It's a burnt sienna and a pine green. And that's because yellow, when you look at yellow, okay, and you're looking at yellow on the color wheel, one direction is it goes green, next direction is it goes orange. Burnt sienna is our orange, green over here, pine green is this color. So if you're looking through the color spectrum of yellow, it can very easily go green to orange on either side. So when it cools down a lot, it tends to go more green. And of course its complement I'm putting on is violet. But now I set up some of that green. So if you look at this, see, this is a yellow-green right back here. And you see that yellow-green right in there. Do you see that? Right in there. So here's the yellow going to the orange. Here's the yellow going to the green. It's a lighter green, and I could have a little bit more light in it than what I have. But it is a yellow-green right in there. That's better color. Right in there. That sets it out. Now, I'll set some of this color and stuff that I use. I'll set some of this back up onto my brighter colors that I've put up on top. So now I've got all this nice, beautiful, artistic modeling that goes in there. I just love this kind of stuff. Now, let's go in. We're going to take some yellow oxide. I'm going to take some white. This is a very opaque color right now, but now I'm going to lighten it up with some Hansa yellow. And if you have any of that green in your brush, boy, you know, rinse that out pretty good and make sure you get the water out of there. Because that will really change and cool your color quite a bit. These are warms, so, and some white. So yellow oxide and the Hansa yellow and white. So the yellow oxide, I'm putting it in for its power more than anything else. It's opaquing power to take out it in just a few areas. The Hansa yellow for its brightness, and then the white to get it back up to a lighter color. And I'm going to start right up into areas that, and see how opaque I can take that really quick. It's a nice, bright, opaque color. And I can take this right out like this. I can lift the pressure and let some of that other color lift the pressure. Let some of those other tones now pick up into it. But it allows me to really pop on the back of the wing there. I'm going to want another maybe powerful stroke. So you see this on this wing, you can feel the angle of it coming down. So I want to come down that angle after I set that down. Use this to set the contours of basically his shoulder here, his mantle on his wing. So we'll set that in. Goes a bit brighter back here again, so let's set up a more determined, but I'm going to want to also change this, maybe that back edge, make it a little more lost than what you see, just so we lose the back edge of that bird over there. So it's not that way in the photo, but we might change that. That's our artistic license here. So I'll move that over here just a bit. Let's put the bird back here so you guys can see it as well. Okay. And now you'll see a bunch of that strokes right in through there. Don't look to the light yet. Look to that tone, which is right about what we're using as a nice undertone here to set this. And it's pulling in. It's pulling in for the back of his head, pulling in right there. That sets that main motion or direction of those feathers. We'll tap it up right up through there and bring it down just a bit. That's the first half, what we call half tone up. Half tone up. Boom, right in there. And just leave a bit of that modeling in there. We'll grab a bit more, change it just a bit here. Maybe a touch of darty light in there too. That's a beautiful yellow. I use it as my changing yellow. So now you've got another mark right here, which is really kind of his cheek right in there. And let's set that right in, pull that right up towards that eye, lifting off. Pull that, just blur the edges of it there with your finger. Leave that interest of that mark, of that brush. Boom, leave that. Don't try to take that off. You can soften the edges of it with like your chisel a bit, but don't take too much of it off. There, like that. Because that sets direction. That brush calligraphy helps set that direction and stuff there on him. Okay, I'm going to go now, and this is just tacking up almost dry. I'm going to take some Hansa yellow and some light, and I'm going to really quite a bit of Hansa. Now I can set the Hansa on here, and the Hansa will show up more. Boom, one more stroke there. Let's put another one down, curving down that way there. And leave some of the power of that stroke right there like that. So I leave that calligraphy there. But I can also do it in reverse. Now there's the warm mark that's right there. So I'll just go ahead and restate that warm mark, pulling down, and it'll happen real fast because those colors are already underneath there. So, it happens pretty darn quick. Let's take just some soft this, gray it up a bit with some of our grayed violet into some of these yellows, and let's just pull a bit of it down his breast here and let some of that come in there for right now. So you're building him up, and this would be very difficult if you used a wet on wet technique where you don't allow the colors to dry. If you paint a pure alla prima with oils and stuff like that, you'd have to pick your progressions of your colors probably a little different, because you'll get too much mixing and stuff. So, artists, we pick the progressions by our color knowledge of the pigments and what we do, and so we choose the progression of the pigments depending upon their power, what kind of power they'll have in what layer of your painting. Let's mark this now a little lighter, heavier. And right in there like that. And let's push that right up in here. Boom. Okay. So you can see, you get that in there. Now comes the time, do I want to, well, let's see, let's do one more while we're here. We'll just go Hansa yellow and the white, a little bit of the white. Let's set some of that right in here. Oh boy, I got a bead of water came out of my brush right there because I did not pinch wipe it enough. And then you'll fight that for a bit. It's not a good thing. I like to have the power of the mark, and water destroys that, so I want to be a little careful. So we'll restate that just a bit. See how it eats into that a bit? That's because water's the solvent, so it'll eat through a bit. But we'll persevere here. Now, so I'm starting to get that marks and stuff. So now comes the question, do you want to go down to your, I want to do a little bit more detailing around them. Do I want to use my 2 flat, or do I want to go to my 4 round, which we used before? You know, either one would work and give you some differences and stuff here. It's your choice. It's back up to your choice. I'm going to take some Hansa, some white, and a little bit of yellow oxide here and build out his neck. And I like the 4 pulling down like that. We'll build out his neck. We'll take that first stroke. We'll then lighten it with a little Hansa and white. And let's just add a few little marks down. Not the whole thing. Don't destroy the whole thing. Leave some of that other in there like that. Okay. He has some nice, just rinse my brush just lightly and let's get rid of that water. He has some darker marks of it. Let's go with like a burnt sienna right up underneath here to help really that small little feathering around his face. Let's just tap some of that in there. Burnt sienna. Right around like that. That helps. All that little detail you do there, I'm going to rinse that out real quick. Pinch wipe that out. All that little detail is going to make a huge difference in him. Okay. Let's pick up some of our light right up on the point here. And we'll come right below here with the eye ring there. Right up here like that. Okay. We'll just tap and work that color. Now, when I work an area like this, if I'm doing a commission painting like this or something, I work this area a lot, back and forth, probably 3-4 times, going lights and darks to get some nice feathering and stuff like that in there. And you can see just even once how much interest, you know, it does get. Now let's, I'm going to jump over to some darks here for just a second and restate some nice burnt sienna blues, a little bit of violets and stuff in there. Restate some of the darks back through here like this. A little more burnt sienna on the ends. I don't want to lose that warmth right out here. There we go. I like that little bit of warmth out there on the back edge of his head there. Some of that right down through here. Right along the top of his eye, down through this area. Here. There you go. And you can see the little light violet shines right up there. Do you see that? So we can take a little of our violet color, bit of light, and touch a bit of that right in there just to get some of that light violet shine in there. And you know, again, I tell you all the time, I paint too much and then I tap it, paint it back into place with some dark. That's my favorite way of doing things. I'm going to do it up here by his eye as well. And work that just a bit there. Let's, little marks. I look for little marks, little pulling in marks here by his eye. That just adds so much interest as you start to work that. Just the point of your brush, a little bit of paint. Just the point of your brush. Let it kind of skip around there a bit. Here. There we go. Let's put just a bit more of that eye ring light right to the back side. And again, like that, if I touch and I get maybe a bit too much, I'll take it out a little burnt sienna or a little dark, whatever you want there. And let's put a little light yellow to white, maybe even a light violet would be pretty. A little more white, but not pure white, because he's so dark it'll not look good on his eye. Let's put a little catch light right up there in the front, there like that. That's pretty good. Let's put a little shine, nice light yellow shine up here on the eye ring up into the front there, like that. And again, I like to do it a little big. I'll take a little burnt sienna and some yellow. Just tap it out a bit. That looks pretty good. Now let's go back to some yellow oxide, some white, some Hansa. Model all of this into that brush. That might be too light. Let's add a bit of the violet in there too. And let's start pulling back down through here, softening some of that color through there, maybe a bit more. So I can work back and forth, you know, here with some siennas as I see the tone, as I'm starting to emulate that area right in there. What am I seeing? And I see it go a little more violet. You can see that little bit of violet right back through there. You start to look for those things. You know it's going to happen. You know, with light, your light studies, you know that's going to happen optically. That's got to happen. So we'll push that in. Let's go with a bit more light, building it up again. But constantly when you're doing this, don't paint too long with the same tone. Change it up a bit so that it's different. Otherwise you're just painting over the same thing over and over and over again. Let's go more Hansa this time, maybe pure Hansa, and let's put in a nice Goldfinch mark of that brighter, and that Goldfinch yellow is going to go right up here on the back side here, just a bit. Let that sienna come out there. This is what makes, you know, like Goldfinch and stuff like that, and cardinals, you know, like we painted last time and stuff, so pretty, is when you as the artist can get these color variations. What appears to be a bright red or a bright yellow bird actually has a lot of tonal variations in it. And if you can capture those, that's what sets you apart as an artist. So let's grab that brighter yellow. Boom, see that little mark? You can see that now really nice. Brighter little yellow mark right down here by his shoulder. Coming right down there. We'll leave that there. We'll let it go more toned. We'll get a bit more of our violets and stuff here. A bit more toned as it comes back down this way. Here, let's leave a little more feathery look there. Right in there like that. Now I could have, you know, he has more sienna in there still than what I have, so I'm just going to soften up some sienna and stroke back with some of that sienna. Model that around. Now see, I'll stroke maybe a little too much of it, and then come back with some softer yellow right in there to break some of that up, but still trying not to destroy all of the sienna that I see. Here, let's put that stronger eye ridge right up there. It's right there on him. It's kind of nice. Let's put a little stronger mark of the yellow right back there. And that's kind of nice. Let's get a nice darulite and tiny bit of that red violet, naphtha red light. Let's push that orange right up to the top of his beak there. We'll tap some of that through there for a second. There. And we'll model the burnt sienna in red here. And let's grab a bit of extender in there just to loosen up that color. We'll push some of that in here. And I like to push other yellows as well so I get some modeling of the color. This is what I call the modeling of the color, where it just doesn't come out as just one color. You get all kinds of little variations in there, and I find that quite interesting as the artist, and I like to leave some of that. So we can go a little more burnt sienna, a little darker, right up against his head there and right up on the lower beak. There, just a bit more. Now I pushed out too much of that light in there, so I'll just go push it back in. Boom. Sometimes I push 5, 6 times back and forth like that, pushing color in. Let's go back to that tiny little bit more violet. That's right up on this edge here. And be a little careful. Get that nice little violet right up there. And slightly lighter orange right up here, touching to the top. Just touch that in. Let that happen right there. Maybe just a bit of yellow there. There, see, that gives a nice beak. Lots of nice, pretty coloring in there. You come close to it. It's not perfect. The actual purple color that I had can come back a bit more, which I could do, but I get you close. But now look at, see the movement that I have there in the feathers. I don't want to lose that. I want to think smaller strokes now with some of my what I call the finch color, the Goldfinch color here, which is the brighter yellows, some whites, get a bit of opacity here to it, and we'll do some short feathering like this. We'll pull down his shoulder here just a bit. There, leave some of that sienna there. I probably took out too much of it, but I'm a professional, I'll put it back. So we'll do that. Back and forth. Imagine how fast I could paint if I didn't make mistakes. So we'll go back a bit more yellow. Let's reset that sienna right there. Boom. There it is. And push that in. There. Set a bit more. I do like stroking backwards like this with this 4. It just always makes nice bird feathers. And you can push a bit to soften that in. And that worked pretty well. And now I like all that detail. I'm gonna lighten up some Hansa and some white. And I'm going to tap that around, right around his face up here again. Work some of those lighter tones. A bit of a stroke right down there like that kind of sets the edge of his face. Tap up through here just a bit. See, that gives like the tips of all the little feathering that's around him. And the more you do around like that, of course it takes more time, but the more you do, the more interest he starts to get. So, you know, and I don't like to do that throughout his whole body and make super realistic birds. I used to. I don't anymore. But I like to choose where I like to put the detail, and I do like it around their face. And then after that, I like it to become a painting where it starts to fade out a bit. I like that. Here we go. So I'm getting some of that nice light finch color right up there now. A few strokes of it right up in there, like that. That's not too bad. And yeah, now I'm going to go back to my 2 here just to change up. I don't like to work too long with one brush because then you start making all the same strokes. So I'll widen this out a bit. Let's look for a few lighter strokes. Here, lift off. Don't lose all that beautiful undertone we put on there. I want to put an arching stroke here for his back wing. Since this is going to be his back wing, I want to arch it this way, one overriding the other here. So I'll pull it down like that to set that one wing up on top like that. I'm going to set this. Sounds like one of my dogs is having puppy dreams in there, barking. And we'll set a few little lights coming down here, like that. Now, the white is not a white, okay? So you may think that that looks like a white, but it's actually, you know, look at it, it's very close to the violets that are right up here. So I'm going to take some of my blue and my red violet here, and I'm going to make it very light, And sometimes I'll tone that with like a little yellow, which warms it just a bit as well. Let's get that just a bit more. Let's grab a touch of that quinacridone in there. We'll mix up a real light little violet here. Right now I'm up about an 8 or so. I don't want to really go too much past a 9, so a 9 would dry down to an 8. But you see, that's a violet. See, that's a violet color in there, right there. It's a beautiful color. And we'll come right down here like this, and we'll put in the marks right here. So I'm going to push that in, and it drops down a bit. And then I'm just going to pull through it a bit, both ways, to create a few streaks. I don't want to, you know, we can paint these with lots of streaks and really realistic, and that'll just take right away from his face. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to put a mark of it right down there. He's going to have some rings of it, really, right around like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and put these on and then negative paint him. Some of you have seen me negative paint before. It's one of my favorite techniques. And let's put in a few marks for his primaries. But, you know, usually I don't get too detailed out here on the feather this far away, but he is facing us this way on his body, so. But we do want to paint him. I'm painting olive primer. I want to paint him kind of quickly. I want him to be very artistic, not super realistic. I want him to be a painting. And this is one way to do it, is we don't try to get too precise here. Yeah, I heard you in there barking, little one. Yeah, I heard you in there barking. You woke yourself up. Here we go, around like that. We'll push some right down in there like that. Just real soft, kind of the banding. Now, we can take all of that away wherever we want with the negative painting. But let's put a mark or two of that violet just up a little higher. And it's always, you know, like really good. Carry your color. Let's put some of that violet there. Let's restate maybe just a touch of it right back through there. Just that's the artistic part of it, the carrying the color, the little splash of those violets. You know where would be a really good place for that violet? And now that you're painting with violet, you can sometimes see it like, whoops, especially there after I touch it on the photo. But there's just like a little tiny bit of violet right up there on the top of the light, right up there. So hitting let's even put a little bit down low. See, that just adds nice little touches. Now, let's come back down here. We have our choice between our warms and our cools. I'm probably going to keep it a little bit warm, so a little burnt sienna in it. Here. With some of our darks, let's paint down over that just a bit. That'll give you more of your feathering look as well. Sometimes I'll leave a harsh edge. Sometimes I'll kind of do like that and feather it off a bit, because it gives differences. Boom, and feather some off, pull down. So I like to paint the light into position with the dark. That's just one of my favorite little things to do. And I can feather it really easy like that. We'll add a few more little streaks there. Let's just feather this a bit. Just a corner of this little flat. Just does a nice job right there. And he has a heavier mark actually right here by the tip of his wing, so I'm going to push that in. I'm just going to drop that in there like that. See, I like this kind of stuff. You know, you get the feeling of the bands and stuff, but you'll have some differences. And I do like that. It's more painterly, quick painterly. There. I like that kind of painterly, rather than having it too precise. I used to for years, I used to be like super realism. And then I was just like, I want to relax my paintings a little bit more. How do I do that? And then I spent the next 10 years trying to break all the detail habits that I had tried to develop for so many years. I spent so many years trying to break them. So, but that's our journey, right? So I'll blur it a little bit, put some other color on there. That'll look nice. Maybe bring these right together with the light. Right there, just kind of blur those up like that. See, I like that blurring of the colors. It's not blending, so you still get like the feeling of individual tones, see? But this is very sharp, very precise, very high contrast. It competes against his face. This is not. See, by blurring some of those colors out a bit, it's not. And I can use some of that gray blur down this edge here, causing that loss. So I'll still get kind of the same feeling, but I don't have the detail. I'm going to put just a touch of that right down in there. Sometimes I take some liberties with the little bird here as well. Let's take some burnt sienna, a little bit of that dark. Let's just draw his idea here. That didn't work, so I'm going to set it again here. Just blur that up there a bit. Just idea here. That's where he's going to sit. I do want to put a touch more of a brighter yellow here and there. One of them is right up here. So I turned him so I can get more of a yellow stroke right there. Maybe yellow and a little bit of light. Boom, right down like that. And I think I'm just going to kind of leave that mark like that. See how bright that is, and then drops down right here to nothing? I like that. You can take your brush and lightly drag a little bit to shear off that color, but I'm going to leave that lighter mark right there, and I like that. I'm maybe going to restate this mark down here one more time. Let that off. See, that's just nice and bright now. That's the finch color, that goldfinch color right in there. I like that pulling down here. Like, builds up a bit more, a bit of the sienna in it, you know, curvature of that wing there. Back to that side. But, you know, getting some of these different turns right down right like that. So slightly toned and then really bright. And especially you let that dry up a bit, then it's really easy to put that Hansa right up on there, a few strokes. And I do like that kind of stopping right there, just boom. And you got that nice bright, you know, there it is, Goldfinch, boom. And that's what I like. I'm going to put another one of those right back up here, boom. And that's Goldfinch time. Now, you know, if you wanted to come back in, now I'd be very careful with this. Maybe a little yellow in it, but into the violet here. Don't go to pure white. That'll be a killer for his face because it'd be too much contrast. But maybe just a few touches. Maybe on the ones that are up here closer to him, up towards his face a bit. Let it go more violet as it goes down. Those sides there. Maybe a nice light right up here where I pushed that in. That's not really on the photo, but I wanted it, so I did it. And you know how I like, and you can see right here, look real close. Remember I always say I like to pull a little bit of his body feathers over the edge of his wing. It kind of sets it in. You see it right there on him. So I'll take some of that light. Oh, let's put it right down here. A bit of yellow into it. Let's use this little the corner of it, pull across just a bit there like that. And I think I'm going to go to my 4 for that, to finish that up there with the edge of the 4. It does really nice little feathering, because you just lift up and just get just the top 2 little hairs of the brush, and it just does a nice job. Let's push just a bit of that right around his eye again. Right in there. Okay. Now I've played around enough with that on there. Let's step that back just a bit there. Okay, so you can see that So you see him, we'll move him back up over here again. Now we're going to paint some fanciful flowers. Now you want to bring him back out later a little more there. That's going to be, something we can decide to do. Probably why I have some of this nice violet here. Here, let's lighten it up just a bit. And let's put a bit of extender into that. Okay, nice little violet. And let's come right up next to his line here and paint that in. That really pops his face forward here. And you can really see the difference now where it pops him forward, where he gets kind of lost there in the yellow green, and his whole face pops out on this side of this one here. So there we go. Zoom, right like that. We'll blur some of that back. So I'll take some of that nice color here. We'll just streak that right through here. Boom, let some of that go through. I like it to pick up other colors. This is the artistic part of it. I like some of that. See, I like some of that dragging down and moving through. This sets a nice foundation here for us to paint. Nice foundation of movement and stuff here for us to paint the other little flowers and stuff like that going on. It'll work out pretty nice. And when I used to do this stuff, and I first started learning, or let me just say it this way, not first started learning, but first started being brave about putting those streaks on like that and just kind of running them through there. I used to think, oh, that's wrong, oh, that's wrong. And it really isn't wrong. It is, there's a confidence that you have to develop as an artist, and that takes time. That takes paintings. You need to get these paintings done because there's a confidence that comes with just being able to do that and saying, yeah, okay, it's not perfect, but no one's going to notice. You know what I mean? There's a confidence that comes with that's not going to affect that mark, like that mark that I put on there is not going to affect my overall painting because most of that's going to cover up. But if I paint it really quick and do my job, it puts on a certain amount of interest, through the painting. And and there's different kinds of interest we like to have. See, I like that right back through there like that. But there's a confidence to leaving it like that. Just to leave it. There's a confidence that you have to get. Now, I'm just going to push around some of the yellow. We've done this before. I'm just going to, and that's going to be the softer yellow oxide. So see, it helps carry yellow through the painting, but yet it's not distracting from my Goldfinch here. Okay, and we were saying we might want to do some smaller little like white and yellow blossoms or something like that. Let's try going at it with our 6. So I'm going to key mostly off of my violets, yellows here together here. Okay, and I'll start right up around the center here, and I'm not going to make I'm going to make like little daisy type flowers here, multi-petal ones, but some of them I'm just going to let them blur kind of together. I'm going to start rocking and rolling them. So more of an oval this way, more of a oval back out this way here. So in other words, I don't, you imagine an oval and you paint long ones, reaching ones, and then short little ones here that kind of turns it and angles it. Let's paint the idea of a few back here. I paint real quick and real sketchy here, to how I want them to kind of be. This is my yellow and my violet, and a nice grade here. I'll pick up a little bit more white when I'm working right around the center here of where I want to really have a forward one, and push my finger around sometimes in and out. I'm here, just gonna kind of push in. We'll let these just kind of model out like that. That's kind of pretty. And I'm going to quickly let it die down here as I leave some of this area here. I'll push some around there. Let's push some around there. A little bit of violet in that as you go out so that it softens to the background. You know, right back there like that. And you know, you could just do a little tiny spray of them. You could add a few more. You know, that's up to you. You know how much you want to do. And I'm gonna let these just kind of track off here and leave some negative space and stuff like that, so like they're really kind of opened up, and you know, there's lots of air space here in between, and let some of that just fade away here. Just soften out. I want to build up into the center. I'm going to go back. Let's just tap in some yellows. I'll go back and work my center ones. You know, I really like to kind of set the look here of my center ones, especially if I'm not real sure. I like to set the look. Now, let's think about the bird. Let's take the burnt sienna from the bird. Let's push that in as a little bit of shadowy contrast to that center here. And so I'm imagining like little multi-petal daisies here, stuff like that, coming around here. And boom, soften it out, add a little bit of white to it, a little yellow, so the color gets softer as we leave some of that area. Just little marks of that yellow and there, back like that. And I have to paint fast. I paint real fast, and that's what gives it a little bit more life. I paint really fast so I can get it done. I'm gonna come right up against the edge of this, right down here. Soften that back edge of that. Let that bird soften right down there into that. Maybe bit of that haunts of dragging down, right down a little bit further there. And I've got to his back edge back here. Now, you know, it's got a little bit of that purpley line that I don't quite like. So I'm going to put a little bit of the yellow oxide there, and then I'm going to start encroaching on it with some of my violet, and see how that softens that back line back there. And I'm going to start softening some of that out until I feel that he's not quite as dark on that shoulder right there, losing that edge just a bit there. And I can bring some of that out, but maybe I bring it out with a yellow oxide that is not quite as bright. So I'm going to change the photo here just a bit, because so we read that nice violet back there, and so I'll change that just a bit, and I can do that there, like that. Yeah, that's better. Might even take a brighter, nice, boom, bit of that nice goldfinch color back up there again. I really, you know, my final ones that I do on that kind of stuff, I like to get texture. So there's a little texture right there onto the stroke. Now, why not take just a little bit of this? If you're thinking about moving it, take a little bit of this and hit. We're going to have some of this Hansa into the centers, but why not hit just a few? See how it just puts little sparks of yellow through? Something else to consider, something else that I do sometimes. And then I'm going to pick up more of my white this time, and I'll build those back. Just like we did with the cardinal and stuff, I'll start to build back into some of my center of interest ones here. I'll start to build a bit more interest here, right into around the bird. Point them at, you know, around the side of the bird that I where I want the viewer's eye to go. It says, go look at his head there. You know, just a few of them pointed up there. Pointing around. That's kind of nice. I won't do it every one out here. I'm going to let some of this just kind of fade away back out there. Maybe not so much here. Some soft, maybe a little bit more transparent. You know, you can do that too. So just little transparent movements out through there like that. Just makes it kind of pretty. If you get too much, and this is what you can do. See, if you get too much, like, oh man, I got a lot of flowers going on, then you just, and there's some yellow in my brush too. It won't hurt anything. Let's just take some of that violet and push that right through here like that. And take that down. See, this is very much the impressionist way that I really like. And you can bring it back. You can bring some of it back. But see, I like that. Like, here's that little band of light and color coming through there. And that violet and stuff that I just like that. And I'll thin that out. Your job is to, you know, what I do is, you know, I take a paint day and I just play trying to find different ways to use my brush and use my, you know, my touch, my colors to create different things. And all of that goes right up here. Sometimes things that don't work go right up there. Don't ever do that again. Sometimes those are up here too. But things that work. So if something's bothering me, and there will always be, I mean, you're really lucky if you can paint a painting and nothing bothers you. There'll always be something like, oh, that's a little bit off. So what I do is I start going through my filing cabinet up here and find the thing that, you know, that might fix it and give it a try. You know, what is that? And usually it's something to do with contrast. So it's usually softening it out or maybe bringing it back up. But look at all that movement that you have through there right now. I love that. Now I wish I had some leaves in there before that. Let's just put some leaf color in there. Some burnt sienna, some Hansa yellow, maybe a little Darulite yellow. That's a nice pretty yellow. Let's add some of our violet there so that just stays nice and soft green. The hardest thing, you know, when you're painting and you're painting greens and stuff is we tend to always get the same green everywhere. So I'm going to want to put this light on, and then I'm going to want to change it up a bit because we don't want to paint too long with the same green, right? And push that same green everywhere. Grab a paper towel here, and so we'll move a bit of this out, boom, 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 a little bit. You can restate some of your stems. I kind of blew right through and lost his leg. I might have to push that back in here. Let's take a little burnt sienna with that green there. See, that's a pretty color. Burnt sienna, the green, and the yellow. You can do a little negative painting to pop in a bit more contrast. Read what's happening on your finch to see how much contrast. Of course, you've got a lot of light dark contrast on your finch, so we can afford quite a bit of color contrast right up here. But we don't want to drag it everywhere. See, if I go touch that darker color here, your eye jumps down to there, and you don't want to do that. So you want that softer by the time it gets down there. And so we'll just move some of that color like that. So that's why you see me wipe so many times. As many times I'm just taking away the colors, the heaviness of the color, and letting some transparency, or what we call sheer, come through into the color out like that, and letting that color just kind of fade away. There. Makes it look like you know what you're doing. That's what I do in my, you know, I've painted so many paintings, hundreds of paintings every year. I paint an average between 400 and 500 paintings a year. It's what I do. And that's why it looks like it's so easy for me. Well, it's because I do it all the time. And it really does get easy if you do it all the time. If you only do it a couple times a week, it's a little, you can still do it, it's just a little harder and there's some frustrations through. And that's a natural thing. Okay, let's go a bit darker. Let's be a bit more bold and daring. A little bit of extender in that just to make it slide a bit. And just a touch. I'm watching now. How dark can you go? Anybody want to guess? Yeah, you got to watch your bird. You got to watch your bird. I'm going to put a few other little stems in here just for more movements. But you got to watch your bird, the darkness on your bird. As long as you're not as dark as what's going on in the bird, you're okay. You're fine. Does that make sense? So, yeah, we're okay right now. Boom. Right in there like that. Now we can make just a couple touches of some lighter yellow-green. Here, put couple of, maybe all three yellows into that. Some white, maybe a little bit of the violet in there. Let's just check out. I want just a bit of the lighter green. See, if you have highlights to something, like for example, the lights to the flowers. You know, we have shadows and lights on the flowers. You shouldn't have just shadows onto your leaves. You should go to the lights as well. You know, and carry that color out a bit. Just a little color. That's pretty. Just like that. Now, you know, just like we did on the cardinal that comes back, do we want to come back and reset some nice light ones? Right back there. Maybe one right up here. A bit more. This one a bit more texture. Right there. That's kind of nice. I could have I'm going to grab a little bit of violet, drop it into here, so a little soft. I want to have like one softer one right back in here. Just push that, keeping it down into the shadows here by his tail. Maybe up like that. Here, maybe an edge. So it turns slightly. Boom. We'll figure that out in here a second. Get that. That's better. That's better. Now let's grab its little bit of yellow. A little bit of sienna. There. That gives a better kind of flow going down. That's what I'm looking for. I may need one more. Or don't forget, you can also do like little buds and stuff here. But a couple, because I want it to kind of flow down. Those way, just to kind of down like that. And you see, whenever you do a blossom, let me just do one right here for a second. If I want you to look that way, I do the longer petals on that side and the shorter petals over here. And your eye goes that way. See? And if I'm having you travel out this way, well, then I reverse it. I do the longer petals out on this side and the shorter petals on this side. Now your eye goes that way. See? And if you don't know, just blur it all together. But that's how you use blossoms, and you know that's something we learn in color and design. And you know how do you you're matching your color to your element to the thing to direct a person through your painting. You direct them with, and that's with the Dutch. That's I learned a lot of that through the Dutch. Now let's just take some of that nice Hansa. And let's just tap a little bit of that bright Hansa around. Maybe Hansa and yellow oxide together here. A little bit more. But let's just use a little bit of that. Not so much. It just helps the bird. Travels the colors of the bird here. Of our bird. And does not distract. Here we go. And put a little bit in, and I think that is probably enough for this little painting. I just love the little ghosts and stuff. And thank you ever so much for all of the ghost comments on the cardinal video. That's quite fun for me too. When you go, yeah, you just love those ghost flowers. Yeah, yeah, I like that too. So, anyway, I might just clean up his eye. You know that he's got a nice round top part to his eye. That's just like little things that you might want to do here. A little dark here. I do like to have a side of his eye. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And I do want to put a touch of that warmth. It's gone. Touch of that warmth back there. Just like that. That looks pretty nice. So there you go. There he is there. And, you know, you could have a few more little things. But I do like that spray. And I do like it on the longer board here, having some of that color go through there. You may want to, you know, drag some more of that light color right back through the bottom side here. That's all up to you, size of your board, you know, and that you want. I usually adjust the flowers here, like so you see the flowers here are more vertical, and I adjust it because when you look at this board, it's a big long board, so it's more of it's a rectangle, more into the vertical, and so I adjust my flowers so that they obtain its form. It's something in design we call form matching function. So the board itself and stuff, and the form and that I put my flowers out in are matching each other here, so that they go together better, and I like that. So I'm just going to take that through and just blur some of that out there like that with that nice movement. Let some of that let's take a bit of that back here by his tail. Just some of that movement back like that. I just like that strong movement there. And very artistic, very much the alla prima artistic part of it that I do like. So there you go. Thanks ever so much for joining me. I hope that you hit like on the video. Please do, because when you hit that like button, that helps out the distribution of our videos, and we would like to do more videos and stuff if we can make the channel really successful. So if you haven't subscribed to YouTube so you can click like, go subscribe to YouTube so you can click like, okay? And make sure that you subscribe to our channel so you know what new things are coming out. We're waiting to start up on the Come Paint With Us. That whole program we're waiting for our paints to get in, you know, because of all of what's happening in the world and everything. A lot of the stocks of everything all ran out, and so we had no containers, tubes, all that kind of stuff, because we don't manufacture tubes that paint can go into. So now it's just coming back into the pipeline where we're getting some of that stuff out there. So we'll be able to start that up here hopefully pretty soon. But if you're on our mailing list or subscribe to our channel, you'll know exactly when it is that we start out with. Okay. And we'll pick out another one. I'll listen to all your comments. Some of the other bird. What should I do next? You know, we have scarlet tanager. We have a lot of them that I'm getting a lot of requests and stuff for. But don't forget to look back into the channel to all the older videos, because and sometimes it's really easy to go over to JansenArtStudio.com and scroll through them there. It's a lot easier, I find, than it is going through YouTube. But I've done all different kinds of birds, and you can go look back through some of those. So you'll see the female, like lesser goldfinch. There's other goldfinches that I've done back in the videos. Go look throughout the old videos there. You'll see a lot of different paintings there. Okay, and make sure you go over to our Jansen Art Online and you go to Creative Corner. I'll put a link for this up into the video description. On our channel, it's up there. On this channel, it's down there. Go look to the video description. Look for the links of everything I use and stuff in there. Okay? All right. Thanks a lot, guys. And we still have, but maybe 4 or 5 more birds. We got those. And then we'll start another one, another series. Okay? All right. I'll see you on the next one.